Hello everyone, back to today's second video. I've already done the 5D forecast, which you can find here on the homepage, the video anyway. Just scroll down the page a bit and it's above the pollen count. There's also a written version. You can get to that via buttons at the top of the page, and it's going to be quite a changeable 5 days to come, but nothing like as bad as the weather we had yesterday, and that's the good news really. There's no sign of a return to that sort of very stormy and cold and wet and windy weather that we had yesterday. So this video is going to have a look at the weather for the next week to 10 days, and then we'll have a look at Beijing Climate Centre for the next 40 days, and that will take us well into July. Actually, we'll be getting on with the summer with this particular update. So we'll start with the next week to 10 days. These are the GFS temperature and precipitation ensembles for the next 2 weeks. So red line here is the 30-year upper air temperature average. Now we're getting a little bit milder than average overall during the next few days. So a little bit of a cool off there on Friday, but then we turn quite warm again over the weekend. And overall it's going to be a fairly warmish couple of days, or sort of 3 or 4 days coming up. Early next week, we get a bit of a cool down again, so only going down to average. And then after that, the idea is to lift the temperature up, perhaps for a more sustained period, into the extended part of the GFS, which takes us, of course, into the second half of June, that period just there. There is a little bit of scatter in there, as you always get in the extended range of GFS ensembles, but the trend line, which is the white line, and that's sort of getting all ensemble members together, all 2021 ensemble members together, and sort of creating a mean line out of all of those individual members. That is going quite significantly above the red line, above the 30-year average. So it does look a fairly strong signal there, sort of to turn things increasingly warm, perhaps, into the second half of June. There's not all that much precipitation coming up either, so we've got some rainfall there for the next 24 hours, sort of tomorrow, although it won't be a great deal down in the southeast. And then perhaps a bit more over the weekend, but not a huge amount of rain. And then into next week, actually, the ensemble is trending drier increasingly. This is for London. Will be a little bit more unsettled in the north and west, but down in the south, I think it's going to be quite a lot of dry weather coming up. So actually, the weather looks like it's improving if you want warm, dry conditions as we're heading into the middle part of June. This was anticipated in the June month-end forecast, that the first half of the month would probably be quite unsettled, and then the second half of the month would turn warmer and drier. And it looks like the GFS ensembles are picking up on that sort of idea. Temperature anomalies for next week. This takes us from the 7th through to the 15th of June. They're coming out around average, but possibly going a little bit warmer than average down in the south. Precipitation anomalies look drier than average for the south and the east, but still wetter than average for the north and the west. In America, temperature anomalies are looking quite cool out in the west of the states, then a warmer zone through the Midwest, and then coming into the east and the southeast, actually, it looks quite cool again there. So a bit of a three-way split, really, with temperatures across America in the week ahead. And many parts of the states are coming out drier than average too. You notice it's quite significantly wetter than average in the Pacific Northwest, but other than that area, actually most parts of America are tending to come out quite dry in the week from the 7th through to the 15th of June. Here's how the GFS is looking for Sunday then. It still looks unsettled really. You've got low pressure out to the northwest of Scotland, although we have got this ridge across France that is going to bring drier and warmer conditions to southern and southeastern parts of the country over the weekend. But in the north and west, it's still looking quite unsettled then. Into the start of next week, and we build this little ridge here across the country. So it looks like it's settling down through the early part of next week. This ridge extends back to the Azores High, and it looks like that's going to throw up a little bit of a ridge through the early part of next week, although not truly settling down for the north, so always a little bit more unsettled to the middle part of next week to Scotland, but for England and Wales, we're close to this ridge, so a lot of dry weather. We bring the air in from a westerly Atlantic direction, so it's not going to be a heat wave, but it should be very pleasant in the strong June sunshine. Across England and Wales, it will be quite warm, but up across Scotland, still a little bit more unsettled. And then we run up towards day 10, which takes us towards Friday the 16th, and then on into Saturday the 17th of June. And high pressure is building across the country, so it is going to be mainly dry and settled in the second half of next week. We are bringing the air in around this high pressure from an east-northeasterly direction. So, again, we're not talking about very warm temperatures here on this sort of scenario, but a lot of dry weather and pleasantly warm in the June sunshine is the way the GFS is trending, albeit not a heat wave. East NDF looks like this, so got the low pressure out to northwest of Scotland on Sunday, bringing in these southwesterly winds, so it's cooler and showery for the north on Sunday, but for the south we're close to this ridge from the Azores High, so there will be a lot of dry and warm weather then. Into the start of next week, and we bring this low pressure down across the country, so probably showery for the early part of next week. And then as we go through to the second half of next week, the Azores High begins to send its ridge northwards, so turning increasingly dry and warm through the second half of next week. And this is a proper push from the Azores High, actually, so by the time we get through to Saturday the 17th of June, we've got high pressure situated slap bang over top of the country. Again, the main flow around this high is coming from an Atlantic direction, so again, we're not talking about a heat wave, but certainly it would be very pleasantly warm. You'd be talking about temperatures into below mid-20s Celsius and bags of sunshine coming through with that as well. That really does look like a proper return to summer, actually, as we go through to the extended part of the East NDF today, which of course takes us into the second half of June. So I think very gradually both of these models are differing a little bit in the placement of the ridge, but very gradually both of these models are moving towards the idea of settling down and probably warming up somewhat as we go through to the middle part of June and then on into the second half of the month. Finally, just having a look at the charts from Beijing Climate Centre for the next 40 days. So these are 500 millibar heights broken down into 10-day periods. The first 10-day period taking us from the 6th through to the 15th of June. Looks unsettled, trough of low pressure around the UK, bring the jet stream through as well. We know this is right from where we started yesterday, when it was very unsettled, of course, yesterday. And it's staying changeable, certainly for the north and west up to the weekend. So as a mean flow chart, that's probably reasonable, although later on, I would suggest there would be more influence from ridging. We go through to the second 10-day period. That takes us from the 16th to the 25th of June. And Beijing Climate Centre still looks a little bit unsettled, really. The trough is easing off, it's lifting out. We've got some ridging here through the central Atlantic, also a little bit up to the northeast. That might be a transitional period, so I would assume the Beijing Climate Centre is looking at the atmosphere and it's starting off around the 16th, 17th, probably still seeing an unsettled signal, and then it's trending towards more high pressure dominated conditions later on. Remember, these are 10-day anomalies, so they might not be reflective of the entire 10 days. If you get sort of 3 or 4 days to start off with but are unsettled, and then sort of 7 or 8 days after that that are more settled, then you come away with an anomaly for the 10 days that isn't reflective of either one thing or another. I assume that's what's going on there to some degree. Then the next 10-day period taking us from the 26th of June through to the 5th of July. This one looks more settled. We've got a ridge in the central part of the Atlantic. We've raised the colours here across the UK and going to our east as well. We've raised those colours towards cream, which is near average pressure, if you like. So gradually, as we go through to the end of June into the start of July, I think the Beijing Climate Centre is shifting more onto the settled side of things. And then we go through to the final 10 days, however. This takes us from the 6th through to the 15th of July. And this looks like it's turning more unsettled again, which wouldn't be very good news at all for our summer, because you would think, when we get through to the second half of June into the end of June, high pressure's building, that might be a pattern that's going to carry us through into the main part of the summer. But the Beijing Climate Centre is saying no on that. Actually, it's producing quite a strong ridge through the central Atlantic. But look at this, we've got below average heights coming back over the UK and much of Central and Western Europe. The mean flow with that will be doing something a little bit like that. So it is a trough within the 500 millibar flow. And that looks quite cool and unsettled there, I'm afraid, as we're going through into the middle part of July. Now, that's days 31 to 40. It's a very long way off in terms of model forecasting. So, wouldn't be too concerned about that. But obviously, if it did come off like that, the middle part of July would be significantly cooler and more unsettled once again. And of course, we'll be getting well on into the summer by that point as well. So it wouldn't be very good news for regards to this summer forecast, to say the least. And it would be a bit concerning for anybody that wants warm and dry conditions in the main part of the summer, which is really from the middle of July through towards the end of August. So wait and see on that, but for the next sort of week to 10 days, I think we are very gradually inching towards the idea of high pressure coming back. So there is some good news in this video if you want warm and dry conditions. We head up to middle of June, and it looks like it is going to turn a little bit warmer and drier. And there's no sign at all of a return to yesterday's deluge and horrendous weather, so I think we'll all be a little bit relieved about that. Right, don't forget to check out 5-day forecast if you've not yet done so. That's all for now, and thanks for watching.